Imagine a single phone call that starts as a simple favor but unravels a secret so profound it changes lives forever. When Sarah, a struggling single mother, asked Jake, a quiet handyman, to fix her leaking water tank, neither could have known what he'd find hidden inside, or how it would rewrite their futures. Stick with me, because this story of loss, hope, and redemption will grip your heart and leave you inspired. The phone rang on a chilly autumn morning, cutting through the hum of Jake's small repair shop. Jake Miller, a 42-year-old handyman with calloused hands and a guarded heart, answered with his usual gruff tone. "Miller's Repairs, what's the job?" On the other end was Sarah Thompson, her voice trembling with exhaustion. Her water tank had been leaking for weeks, flooding her basement and driving up her bills. She couldn't afford a big repair, but she was desperate. "Please, Mr. Miller," she said, "I just need it fixed before winter hits." Something in her voice, a raw edge of vulnerability, made Jake pause. He wasn't one for charity, but he agreed to stop by that afternoon. Jake arrived at Sarah's modest home in a forgotten corner of town. The paint was peeling, the yard overgrown, and the air carried the weight of neglect. Sarah greeted him at the door, her eyes sunken from sleepless nights, her 5-year-old daughter, Lily, clinging to her leg. "Thank you for coming," Sarah said, her smile strained but grateful. She led him to the basement, where the old water tank stood, rusted and dripping. Jake sized it up, expecting a straightforward job. He'd seen worse. But as he tapped the tank side, a hollow clang echoed, something was off. He worked in silence, draining the tank and inspecting its interior. The leak was bad, but nothing he couldn't handle. Then, as he reached inside to check the pressure valve, his fingers brushed against something cold and metallic, wedged in a corner. Frowning, he pulled it out, a small, sealed metal box, no bigger than a book, caked in rust but oddly heavy. He turned it over, noticing a faint engraving, "To my dearest." His gut twisted. This wasn't just junk. Sarah, watching from the stairs, gasped. "What's that?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Jake shook his head, unsure. "Found it inside the tank. Looks like it's been there a while." Sarah's face paled. She didn't know the house's history, she'd inherited it from her late aunt, who'd passed away a year ago. The box felt like a secret, one neither of them was ready to uncover. Jake set it aside, promising to finish the repair first, but the weight of that discovery lingered in the air. As he worked, Sarah shared bits of her story. She was 32, a single mom since her husband left when Lily was a baby. Money was tight, and the house was all she had left. Jake listened quietly, his own past stirring. He'd lost his wife, Emily, to cancer 5 years ago, and with her, his ability to connect with anyone. He kept people at arm's length, burying himself in work. But something about Sarah's resilience, her quiet strength despite her struggles, tugged at him. By the time he fixed the tank, the box sat on the basement floor like an unspoken question. Sarah hesitated, then picked it up. "Should we open it?" she asked. Jake shrugged, but his curiosity burned. Together, they pried it open, revealing a stack of yellowed letters, a locket, and a small, faded photograph of a young couple. The letters were addressed to someone named Margaret, signed with love from a man named Thomas. Sarah's breath caught. "My aunt's name was Margaret," she whispered. Chapter 2, The Letters That Broke Their Hearts. That evening, Jake stayed longer than he planned. Sarah offered him coffee, and they sat at her kitchen table, the box's contents spread before them. Lily played nearby, oblivious to the weight of the moment. The letters, written in elegant cursive, told a story of love and loss. Thomas, a soldier, had written to Margaret during the Vietnam War, promising to return and build a life together. Each letter was filled with hope, dreams of a home, and unwavering devotion. But the final letter, dated 1973, was different. It wasn't from Thomas but from a military officer, informing Margaret of Thomas's death in action. Sarah's eyes filled with tears as she read aloud. Aunt Margaret never talked about a Thomas, she said. She lived alone my whole life. I thought she'd never married because she didn't want to. The locket held a tiny photo of Thomas, his face young and earnest. The photograph showed him and Margaret, laughing under a tree, their love frozen in time. Jake felt a lump in his throat. He knew loss too well, the way it hollowed you out, left you stuck in time. Sarah found a note tucked in the last letter, written in Margaret's handwriting. I hid this where no one would find it. My heart can't bear to lose you twice. Sarah realized Margaret must have sealed the box in the water tank, a place no one would look, to bury her grief. But why? Why hide such a precious piece of her life? The discovery shook Sarah. She'd always seen her aunt as strong, independent, but now she saw a woman who'd carried a secret pain for decades. Jake, too, felt the weight of it. He'd buried his own grief, avoiding anything that reminded him of Emily. Seeing Sarah wrestle with her aunt's story made him confront his own isolation. He offered to help Sarah dig deeper, to find out who Thomas was and why Margaret had hidden their story. Over the next few days, they researched together. Jake visited the local library, pulling records from the town's archives, while Sarah reached out to distant relatives. They learned Thomas had been a local hero, killed just weeks before he was due to return home. Margaret had never remarried, living quietly in the house until her death. The town remembered her as kind but distant, a woman who kept to herself. Sarah felt a pang of guilt. She'd never asked her aunt about her. Be dimmed. The reception was a blur of music, laughter, and clinking glasses, but Amara couldn't shake the lingering unease. She caught snippets of conversation, some kind, some less so. Her sister Lila approached, her face a mask of forced cheer. You looked brave up there, she said, her tone implying it was a compliment. Amara bristled but managed a tight smile. She didn't want to fight, not today. As the night wore on, an unexpected guest arrived, Mrs. Carter, Amara's high school counselor, who'd been one of the few to believe in her during her darkest days. Amara hadn't seen her in years, but the older woman's warm hug brought tears to her eyes. I always knew you'd find your way, Mrs. Carter said, her voice thick with pride. You're not that scared girl anymore. You're a woman who's fought for her happiness. Those words stayed with Amara as she danced with Daniel under the twinkling lights. But the real test came when she overheard a group of old classmates gossiping near the dessert table. She's lucky he loves her, one said. I mean, with her history, the words cut deep, but Amara didn't hide this time. She walked over, her head high, and said, I'm not lucky. I'm loved. There's a difference. The group fell silent, and Amara walked away, her heart pounding but lighter than it had been in years. Later, as she and Daniel sat together, watching their guests laugh and dance, Amara realized something profound. Shame had been her shadow for so long, but it didn't have to define her. She'd faced her fears, her past, the town's judgment, her own doubts, and come out stronger. Daniel's love hadn't saved her, it had reminded her that she was worth saving. As the reception wound down, Amara and Daniel slipped outside for a moment alone. The night was cool, the stars bright above the quiet town. Amara leaned against him, her veil long discarded, her scars catching the moonlight. I was so scared today, she admitted. I thought I didn't belong in that dress, in this life. Daniel took her hand, tracing the scars on her arm with his thumb. You belong wherever you choose to be, he said. And I'm choosing to be right here with you. They stood in silence, the weight of the day settling into something beautiful, something hopeful. Amara knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. The town would still whisper, and her doubts might creep back in. But she also knew she wasn't alone anymore. She had Daniel, Mrs. Carter, the few who'd always believed in her, and most importantly, she was beginning to believe in herself. As they returned to the reception, Amara caught her reflection in a window. For the first time, she didn't flinch. She saw a woman who'd fought, who'd fallen, who'd risen again. A woman who was beautiful, not despite her scars, but because of them. As Amara and Daniel drove off into the night, their laughter echoing through the open windows, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter. What makes a moment beautiful? Is it the absence of pain, or? Months later, the memorial became a place of healing for the town. Sarah started a small business, using the house as a bed and breakfast, her warmth drawing visitors. Jake became her partner in more ways than one, fixing not just her home but his own heart. They never forgot Margaret, Thomas, or Emily, but they built something new, a life woven from loss, love, and second chances. And so, a simple call to fix a water tank uncovered a love story that had been hidden for decades, teaching Sarah and Jake that even the deepest wounds can lead to new beginnings. This story isn't just theirs, it's a reminder that hope can be found in the most unexpected places. What's hiding in your life, waiting to be discovered? Hit that subscribe button, and let's find out together in the next story that'll touch your soul.